Okay, so we can start with the session. You're live now.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so let me put in the presentation mode. All right, very warm good evening to all of you. So thank you, Yash and team, for setting this up. I know this is kind of a Diwali Eve. I can see almost all parts of the country, the festive mood is setting in. I think, after 2 years, we're all having eagerly looking forward to catch up with your friends and family and also burst some crackers and stuff like that. Probably it also a good time, to know more about IoT, and then dissect it a little bit today, and then you can take the right decision for your career, right? So thank you very much for MSIT IEEE branch for setting this up. We're supposed to do it last month, then kind of, I got tied up and we also couldn't track, and then Yash did a follow up again. We thought, we'll be able to do it today. Okay. Very warm welcome. Today's topic is going to be about decoding IoT, right? So, you may be wondering why we are given this particular title called Decoding IoT, because when we interact with a lot of engineers, even at a senior levels, there is a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding about IoT. Because, as we'll see in the later slides, IoT has got a big ambition of connecting anything and everything together. So it's often we all get misled, or sometimes we feel overwhelming to know about IoT. So today's topic, we are going to decode that, making it as simple as possible, so that by the time you complete this particular session, you're all having the necessary clarity in your mind. Because we always believe in one thing, right? We're not here to preach you, we're not going to give you any gyan, because you guys are smart enough to take the right decision for your career. But when you want to take the right decision, you need to have the right set of information. So today's goal is going to be that we'll decode the IoT in three areas. One is, we'll start with getting an overview about IoT, followed by give an overview about what are the tech trends. When you talk about IoT, what are the five tech trends, and finally we'll talk about job opportunities. So when it comes to job opportunities specifically, that itself can be a separate session, so I kept it little brief. So rather than jobs, from Emertxe, we offer a free online internship program which is going to get kickstarted by mid of next month, post Diwali. I'll share you the information so that all of you guys can apply and get benefit of that internship. So that's going to be the focus. My name is Jayakumar. By the way, I'm one of the core leadership team member. I'm hosting this call from my office in Bangalore. Let us get started. Okay. So let me briefly introduce about our company. We are an edtech company where we offer courses both in online and offline mode in three areas. One is embedded systems, the core embedded systems, the programming based on microcontrollers, OS based, etc. And also, as an extension of embedded systems, we have launched our IoT course as well. And then the third technology that we focus on is a full stack web development, where we bring in hands-on course on how to build an entire web application, mainly based on mean and merge stack. So that's been our focus. As an organization, we've been in this particular edtech space for more than 18 years, and we are inspired to solve two problems that we are all aspiring, or we are all having the challenges with. One is the employability point of view, where you guys come into big picture. By 2024, there is a statistics which says we'll have about 30 lakhs engineers graduating in India, because India has become a country. I keep telling in every webinar that we first become engineer, then we think what to do with our careers, right? So a lot of engineers are graduating with even great academic records, but when it comes to employability, that still remains question. Okay, and even if they get recruited, largely when I see the recruitment percentage, around 85 to 90% of the recruitment where you guys get job into, it is primarily the IT services company, where whatever you studied in your engineering, you may or may not be able to apply, right? Your aspiration is something else. So we take these folks, put them through a 6 months online and as well as offline training program, and get them employed with core embedded systems and IoT based companies. And similarly, when people started working, right, they'll have continuous learning needs, where we cater the similar courses for working professionals, where they can take this course along with their working duties, and then upskill themselves and resume their career in their full stack, or rather this core embedded systems and electronics. And also we've been doing the organizational training programs where companies want to invest a lot in employee skilling. As you know, in today's world, the knowledge and skill is power. So employees also making a lot of investment in their employees to skill them up. So we have been delivering a lot of corporate training programs as well. So that's what we do. Three technologies and two challenges or problems we are trying to solve, right? So irrespective of any programs that we run, you can see the diagram below, a hand making a pot, right? So our approach has always been hands on, because learning by doing is what lacking in the engineering ecosystem today. And whenever assume that you are going to learn part making, you cannot learn part making without making your hands dirty, right? And even if you try in the first few times, it may not come out well. It takes time and effort and practice to get the pot making right. And other part is when you make the a pot on your with your own hands, right? It makes your entire journey enjoyable, and you also learn a lot and build a career out of it. So any program that we run, we bring in very practical perspective. Even today's talk, we'll talk a lot of practical aspects of it, so that you have some takeaways end of this session, and you will be able to go and implement them in your careers, right? So that's about our company. And in our leadership team consists of three of us. Mr. Maz is the managing director and founder of Emertxe, and Mubin, my colleague, who heads the technology. They both part of the team, and then myself, Jayakumar. Just to give a brief about myself, I have more than 20 years of experience. I graduated from National Institute of Technology, or NIT Warangal, in the year 2001. Worked for about 12 and a half years with three companies. Started my career with company, a startup called Ishoni Networks, in the embedded system side, building broadband routers. People who are born after 1990, who don't know what you mean by narrow band or a dial up, right? So broadband came and revolutionized that. So I was part of the team which was building broadband routers, which we are using in our homes today. And then working on the embedded systems protocol side, in the development as well as testing side. And then later I moved on to HP Hewlett Packard, where I was part of their inkjet printer firmware team, building their connectivity protocols in the inkjet printer. Worked on various layers like low-level device drivers, embedded middleware applications. And eventually what happens is, the earlier days of cloud computing came, where we want to connect everything to the cloud, right? And later it evolved as IoT, which we are going to talk about. So in my last assignment with HP, we are trying to connect the printer directly to the cloud, which we called as a cloud print, which is one of the most popularly used features as of now in printer, where without a PC you will be able to print directly from your phone or your or your tablet. So that was the last assignment I was handling. I was also become a project and program manager in HP by then. After 7.5 years in HP, I would moved on to Huawei. Huawei, as you all know, it's a Chinese telecommunication and mobile. They also make these Honor phones, a lot of gadgets these days. I was there for about 3.5 years as a senior manager, heading their embedded Linux portfolio. At the peak size, I handled a team size of about 60 people, working on customizing the Linux. As you know, I don't know how many of you are exposed to Linux. Linux is open source and customizable, and Huawei has got a huge set of portfolio of devices where we used to customize Linux and then give it to various product lines. So that was my last assignment in the corporate side. About 12 and a half years I spent. Then education is what I always wanted to do, and then I joined Mars, who started this company, as I said, way back in 2003. And Mubin was my colleague in HP. We're all people who are really driven by education and making an impact with education. So we're really passionate, and we're really interested in sharing the knowledge, imparting the skill set in engineers. And that's one of the motivation why we are doing this session as well. Okay. So that's about our leadership team. And as I said, our focus is on ensuring that people get employability with core companies. This is just a snapshot of companies. We have over 1,200 companies which are training, which are hiring our trained engineers. As you can see, these logos, companies which are working in automotive, semiconductors, consumer electronics, home automation, and electric vehicles of late. Aeronautics, robotics, IoT. So this is the segment that we focus on. As you can see, pretty much all the logos that you can think of, be it an MNC, mid-size organization, and then also a lot of startups these days which are hiring our trained engineers. So this is just a snapshot. You can see pretty much all the logos here. This like updated some time back because our team keeps adding more and more companies. And even some of these organizations are doing really core work, building the entire system. And even when you talk about electric vehicles, right, it's not only about the electric vehicle as such. There's a lot of ecosystem that you need to build it, be it a charging station, or the battery management or battery maintenance kind of ecosystem, right? So a lot of such innovations are happening in India. And all our trained engineers are working in almost all these companies. And even you can see there's one logo called Agnikul. They're even building space satellites. It's based out of IIT Madras. Inside they've been operating. They've been in news of late, right? So what I'm saying is a lot of innovation that is happening in this area. We have legacy companies who have been improving their product lines, but also all these innovative companies, be it robotics, space. As I said, electric vehicle is really a big deal these days, because every organization, every big company that you can think, be it Mahindra, be it Tata, they're all creating their own electric vehicle or the smart solution type of companies. And these new age electric vehicle companies, be it Ola Electric or the Ether Electric, right? These type of companies also entering into the foray. Okay, so that's what we do, just to give a snapshot of what our company is, right? So now let us get on to our focus for today. As I said, this today's talk is going to divide into three sections. We'll talk, or we'll give an overview about IoT as a step number one. We'll talk about and clear some of the myths there. Then second, we'll talk about the technology trends that is happening. 5 trends I'm going to share in today's webinar. And towards the end, we'll talk about job opportunities. As I said, in the job opportunity section, we will mainly focus on the internship, right? What we have been offering for the past 1.5 years, right? So how do we take questions, Yash and team? I understand they may be typing in the YouTube window. You guys will be reading it to for me in logical breaks. So how do we handle the questions? Because I want to make it interactive. I don't want to make it one-sided dialogue.
Yes, so we'll be relaying the questions after the end of the session.
I didn't get you. Relaying in the sense.
So we'll be collecting or writing down the questions from the comment section, and we'll let
Okay.
you know after the end of the section.
Or we'll stop in between. Is it okay? Maybe I'll cover section one and take some questions. Section two. Is that fine?
Sure, sir. We can
All
do
right, we'll
go
do
in
that. So
detail.
that guys also should feel that there's a two-way communication happening. Because
Sure,
I'm
sir.
not doing a live streaming from my machine. You guys are running it. Okay, so you can just note down and let me know, right? Yeah.
Sure, sir. We'll
All
take
right.
it
My
after the
request,
section.
yeah, my request to all of you. I don't know how many of you are in live as of now. My request to all of you is to ask as many questions as possible. Because in Emertxe, we say no question is wrong question, no question is a stupid question, right? Every question will be answered with merit. Don't feel shy, or you're asking a very basic question. One other advantage of what I've been seeing in the running so many webinars is that a webinar also gives you some kind of anonymity, because if you make all of you sit in a classroom and take the same what do you call the seminar, right? So in our culture we don't have the I just think of standing up and asking questions, right? Some of we feel shy, or it's not been encouraged, whatever you can say, right? But the online webinars, what I see, a lot of questions come up, so I request all of you to ask as many questions as possible. I'll stop by in every section, take those questions, and then we'll move on. Okay, so that will be the approach. So thanks for collecting the questions. So let us move on. Okay. Let us start with this particular story, what we would have heard in our childhood days. This like six blind man and an elephant. Okay, this what happens is like six blind men are trying to explain an elephant. They're all holding into different parts of an elephant's body, and you can see that one person who is holding onto the tail, and he says, hey, looks elephant is looking like a rope, right? And then one guy is holding onto its leg and say, hey, looks like a tree, right? Another guy is holding on to a trunk and they say it looks like a snake, right? Then another guy says it's a sphere, it's a fan, by holding on to the ears, etc., etc., right? So why I'm talking about this story is because IoT is like that. Okay, we can draw an analogy. So IoT is so big and so vast that we are all holding on to one piece of IoT and say this is how IoT looks, right? For example, in today's talk, I'll primarily take two perspectives. One is an electronics or a electrical engineer's perspective. or a computer science or an IS engineer's perspective, right? So the way how they look at IoT is very different, right? Whether you are looking from an electronic side or you're looking from the application side, it's very vast. Okay, so our idea today is to demystify that, and at least at a high level, try to build a very simplistic understanding. As I said, this is not going to be a preaching session. We'll give you enough knowledge so that you guys make the right decision for your career after this particular webinar. That would be what our primary objective would be, right? So let us understand before getting into IoT, right? What is this IoT? Let us break it into five major components, as you can see in the screen. IoT consists of five different pieces. One is what you call IoT device. Okay, so the IoT device is the most elementary device that you can think of, which is very small in nature. Typically runs a controller and with some sensors around it. I'll show an example and then we can explain that. Okay, and these devices are having a very small in nature, and they have very minimalistic power requirements and things like that, right? So that's what we mean by IoT device, which is all sitting towards the end of the solution, right? And then what happens is these devices do not have the necessary computing capability nor the power or the protocol which you can connect to the internet. So we have some kind of a intermediary called IoT gateway. So what the IoT gateway does, the IoT gateway communicates with various devices, using a typically a low range protocol. So if you talk about this particular communication, this particular interface, right? So this particular interface typically is a very low range protocols, be it your Bluetooth or your Wi-Fi or any similar protocol, using which these devices communicate to the gateway, and the gateway communicates back to the device. So that's how the gateway comes into picture. Further talking about gateway, compared to the IoT device, the gateway is supposed to have more resources. When I say more resources, more processing speed, more memory, and then more ability to have a more powerful software, and then a network interface, as you can see in the third circle, right, where it actually connects and basically with the internet. And as you all know, people who are studying internet working in your engineering days, right, this particular networking is based on your TCP/IP based internet, where you'll be able to connect anything and everything in the world, right? And today's entire internet what we are using, it's based on this TCP/IP, or a suite of protocols that are based on TCP/IP. What is the difference between Bluetooth and TCP/IP? Bluetooth is having a very small range, as you all know, and TCP/IP is having a large range. Connecting anything to anything is happening mainly because of this core backbone of internet called TCP/IP. So what this gateway does, this gateway communicates with multiple IoT devices, and whatever the data transfer that is happening, it collates it and then transfers further up to the cloud via the TCP/IP based network, right? And these days, good amount of processing power, instead of doing everything in the cloud side, they're also shifting some of them into the IoT gateway side, and that's what people call it as a edge computing, right? It is not what they generally say. You don't need to go all the way up to cloud and do a processing, right? Okay, because it also increases your latency and things like that. So what happens is some of the processing, it's also done at IoT gateway. So that's what typically people call it as an edge or edge computing, right? So that's about IoT gateway. So moving on, the core network comes into picture, which is nothing but the interconnection of routers, switches, entire telecommunication, wired, wireless, right? And latest we are talking about 5G, which is nothing but the high speed internet, which the entire mesh which connects us, all of us globally, right? And sitting here in Bangalore, we're adding, and you guys are sitting in Delhi or probably in some other place and listening to all this, webinar what you're doing today. Then finally, the entire data, whatever is coming in, is lands up in something called as a cloud, which is also called as an IoT platform, IoT cloud platform. Okay. So this IoT cloud platform today, almost all the major players, be it Microsoft, be it IBM, some of you might have done projects using Amazon's IoT cloud, or using your IBM's Watson, etc. So that's how the IoT cloud comes into picture, right? Then finally, why we are doing all these things? Because as a user or a end user, you want to get certain information. So that's where the applications comes into picture, where the entire data, whatever is collected, I'll just explain with an example in the next slide, right? You will have either it's a mobile app or a web UI where you see some information and take some actions. Okay, so these are all the five components that comes into picture, which makes this end-to-end IoT solution happen. Okay, so let us give a use case, of smart car parking. So this is a car parking, smart car parking, which is available in Bangalore. I try to get a better picture of it. Right, seems to be the highest resolution possible. If you see in the left-hand side, right, so this is a road, and where you have the marking done, and I don't know whether it's visible in your presentation, but you can see there is a small black circles are here, right? If you see, right, so these are all nothing but what I mentioned, the entry level thing that is happening in our IoT, which is nothing but the IoT device. Okay, so what do these IoT devices do? Whenever, let us say, I'm moving in my car into that particular parking lot, this device primarily senses that there is a change, there's a motion that is happening. Okay, and there is a motion that happens, either it is somebody is parking their car in, and somebody is taking the car out, right? So it basically detects that particular motion. So, and as you can see, right, it cannot be very big one. I cannot go and install a IoT device which looks like a big box or something like that. You need a parking space, of course, right? These are all typically, if you see that particular thing, if you zoom in and see, right, it probably kind of a small circle, which they're mounted in the road itself. So that's what you call by IoT device. So what these IoT devices do, you can see the right side of this particular picture. There is this panel or this type of stations that are installed. So typically this is nothing but your IoT gateways, right? So what these devices do, these devices, as you can see in Bangalore, there are multiple streets or multiple roads in where these type of smart parking has been implemented, and to some good number of devices there is one IoT gateway, whatever you can see here, which is present. And from the picture itself you can make out that it is having more resources, it is having more computation, more memory. Not only that, you can see there is a screen there and there is a printer there, so which also means to say that it has got the capability to make the payments. So what we typically do, one is, like, for example, when I park a car, I go to this particular panel, and I can enter my parking lot, because there's also a number which is marked typically on the left side of road. I'm talking about the real Bangalore. When near to our office itself, this parking is implemented. Let us say my parking lot is 250. So I walk up to this particular IoT gateway or this particular panel. I say 250. It will, because the motion sensor has already detected that I parked in my car. Then I need to enter how many hours I need to park. Right? Let us say per hour it's 30 rupees. That's what charged in Bangalore's parking system. So we enter the number of hours that I wanted to park, and then I say pay, right? And then a lot of payment option comes in, be it you can swipe a card, or you can put a cash, and the easiest one is being the UPI or QR code, which displays in that particular screen. So I can just scan the QR code and then just press enter. Then it just ejects my, what do you call, the printed slip, right? So that's one way for me to make the payment. And as you all know, these type of gateways are installed in various roads, and all this information via internet, it is transmitted into a centralized system, where probably the police department or the corporation of Bangalore, they're all monitoring, right, where is, who is parked, what is parked, and etc. And not only that, that particular thing, it is also connected to my phone. There's an app which I can download, what I mentioned in the previous slide, right? The rightmost thing, right? The circle. So I also have a mobile app which you can download. In case, say, for example, I want to make a payment, it is not necessary that I need to go and make it from the panel. I can even go to the app. I can enter the parking lot number, which road I parked, and I can go and make the payment. And many a times, what happens, when I work in my office, right? I typically, let us say, I pay for, let us say, 8 hours, right? Like 18 to 3 to 240 rupees. And typically some days, my work day get extended, and the moment it gets extended, what happens is, it will, I need to make the payment, otherwise I'm over parking. They'll put fine on me. They'll even come and there'll be patrolling people who will get notification, and they come and put a lock in my car, so that I'll not be able to move, right? So umpteen number of times, what I've done, I open my mobile app. Let us say 5 minutes or 10 minutes is remaining in my parking time. I just open my mobile app, and then I enter probably another 1 or 2 more hours in it, and then I extend my parking using my app. Okay. So that's the final application I'm talking about, right? So you can see here, there are seamlessly multiple things that are working here. My car is where the IoT device starts monitoring. and all those information comes to this panel where this IoT gateway comes into picture. And there are multiple gateways installed in the same road or in multiple roads, which via internet transmit the entire information via cloud to a centralized monitoring system. And then there also is having multiple application interfaces. One is for me as a parking person. If you want to extend my parking, I can do. Or let us say I'm over parked. There'll be monitoring people who will come and basically monitor this particular thing, and then they'll put a lock. And say, for example, I'm parking for more than one day, there's a risk, right? This is you may see in movies, we put explosives in the car and things like that. Maybe it has to alert the police department so that they can come and tow away the vehicle, right? So you can see, right, the entire thing is connected here, where the previously mentioned five components are coming into picture. Okay, I just want to pause here and then get a quick check from the team. Are you able to get the previous diagram, whatever I said, and this particular use case I explained? What is the response from the audience? Are you able to understand?
Yes, so we have a few questions from our audience members as well.
Okay, so
Should we
maybe
take
few
them up?
slides and then I'll come back. Sorry, I didn't get your
Sure.
name.
So this is Tushita speaking.
Tushita, yeah. Tushita, I'll run some more slide and then I'll take questions. But I just want to get from audience that are they able to connect so far whatever I spoke? The architecture and the
Yes,
use
so the
case.
audience is following along.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sushita. I'll run few more slides and then I'll come back, right? So we can
Sure,
take
sure.
some questions. All right. So thanks, guys. Let me move on. Now, as I said in the first diagram, right? In order to make this happen, this is like a huge elephant, multiple technologies, no? Because when you talk about these five components, there is this particular IoT device, then IoT gateway, then you have this cloud, sorry, network, then cloud, then application, right? So every piece that is there here, the five pieces that we spoke about, if I go back and dissect it further, everything has got a bunch of underlying technologies. Right. For example, when you talk about an IoT device, which is a tiny microcontroller based device, which is smaller form factor, which is having sensors, actuators, etc. running, and is having a very lightweight protocol to talk to the gateway, right? As I said, when you talk about gateway, which is much more capability, so you need an OS running in it, okay, or it could be embedded OS, real-time OS, and it has got various protocols to one end communicate with the device and another end communicate with the gateway. Sorry, to the cloud, right? So it is much more powerful, and as we all saw, it's having payment capability, etc., etc. Then we talk about network, the core, which is lightweight, it should be really scalable. And what is our smart ways, like we should be able to transmit very less amount of data and get our job done, right? So that way the data formats, the quality of service, because the response has to come within a particular time, all those things are part of the network, right? Then comes cloud, where you have the entire IoT platform, which consists of the web services running in, where you're listening to all these incoming connections, and then you run various analytics. For example, who is parking where, what is the collection information, what is the safety and security aspect of it, and then who is over parking. The entire analytics is done, and also you also continuously assess your resource requirement, and then you finally come to optimize that. So that's what we do in cloud. And finally, as I said, the mobile application or the web application, where you have very nice UI as a citizen who is parking the car, or the monitoring personnel, or the centralized, probably they'll have a big panel, where they're monitoring the entire data in form of a graphical format, where the data is getting presented. Right. So what I'm saying is, like, every piece that we think of as having so many underlying technology associated with it. Okay. Now, when you look into this, some questions may pop up as engineers, right? Given the breadth and depth of IoT, some obvious questions pops up in every engineer's mind. What are the questions, right? The confusions. One is this: isn't this unfair? Sir, what are you talking about? You're talking about the entire technology, what an electronics engineer learns, what probably a computer science engineer learns. To some extent, some of the complex embedded systems, which also has having a mechanical engineering aspects associated with it. Isn't it too unfair that you're talking about everything in this particular picture? Yes, it is possible, right? So yes, it is very overwhelming. And so the point that I wanted to drive here is, from this particular diagram, okay, is that you cannot be an expert in all the five circles. So let me repeat: you cannot be an expert in all the five circles, because the reason is simple: it's impossible. Okay, every circle, if you take IoT device, that itself is a ocean on its own. Okay, Okay. So similarly IoT gateway, similarly IoT cloud, right? So in subsequent slide I'll talk about, you take one area and get a specialization in that. That way you will be able to build your career much better, rather than trying to become an expert in everything. In fact, there is no concept of expert in everything, right? Expert means he knows only one specific area. So one myth I wanted to break in all your minds is that, okay, often people, when you talk about IoT, people go all over the place. They say, sir, should I learn machine learning? Should I learn embedded programming? Should I learn about application programming? Should I learn about operating systems? Right. So my request is, yes, whatever technology that you can think of, you can put it in IoT. That is for sure, because it's an elephant. But my request is focus on one area. That's one takeaway that all of you should have. Right. Yes, it's overwhelming. Point number one. Point number two. Okay, yes, sir, I have a reasonable clear idea, okay, whatever we have been discussing so far, but where to start, right? How can I get a head start so that I can, have start getting some feeling about IoT? How do I start? Okay. Uh, and how long it would take, to become an expert, or, become reasonably good in some area of IoT, right? Okay. And other important part, when I mentioned, right, this consists of, the IoT consists of almost all the technologies that you can think of. So you need to build some perspective. See, gone are the days where engineers work in silos, right? So I'm a mechanical engineer, I will work in this area, right? So you need to know the other side also. It's not that you need to only stick on to it and to know something about everything, but one area you get specialization. So how do you bring in, or how do you merge the various engineers mindset in this, right? So that's some of the questions, probably, you can look into it. So finally, this becomes two views, right? So if you're an electronics, electrical, instrumentation, control, even mechanical engineer, you start seeing things from the device side, right? You start from circle number one, because you feel, sir, this programming, this controllers, OS, this core side of it is what excites me, or an embedded systems view, right? So that's one view to look at it. And as I said, if you're a computer science engineer or an information science engineer, right, you take the other perspective. You start from the application side. So there are two views here, right? Okay. Now consider for time being circle number one and circle number two, or a component one and component two. I have a set of engineers who are coming from electronics, electrical, instrumentation, who comes under the bucket of one, and you are a circle number two for nothing but an IS or CS engineers. So those are the two circles. Now, coming to skill building, before I get it, I want to give a very simple example and correlate the circle number one and two. Okay. So suppose, let us say I want to eat roti sabji. Okay. If I want to eat roti sabji, there are multiple ways I can eat roti sabji. Right. I'll show you some combination, then I'll relate to it later. Right. So what is the first way? I make roti on my own, assuming that you are an embedded side of, or an electronics guy. You do this on your own, right? Okay, you buy the tawa, and then you make the entire batter, and then you make this roti, whatever is there in the diagram, right? What is the other way? You also make the sabji on your own. Let us say here, I think it's a paneer matar. Buy the paneer, cut it, buy the matar, boil it, make the entire masala on your own, right? So do the roti also on your own. Do the masala, or the sabji also are your own. Okay, as I told you, okay, both is not possible, because making roti and making sabji requires entirely different skill set. Just to reiterate, making roti I'm relating to electronics and electrical, or those engineers. Making sabji I'm relating to the application or the CS engineer. Just an analogy, right? Okay. No, bias or anything towards it. Just to make you guys understand easier. I was trying to think yesterday, how to put it across so that you all can get it easier. Then I came up with this analogy. This is one way. But what I suggest is, I said, being, either you become an expert in one side and have some idea about other side. You don't need to go in depth, right? So that's what I recommend, this option. If you are an electronics engineer, or if you're from electrical instrumentation, yes, you go and learn the entire roti making or the electronic side completely in depth. Okay. But having said that, can you only stop with that? No, I should know something about the sabji side, or something about this paneer matar side. What I'll do, I will take this approach. You can say, right? There is this ready to eat. There's a famous brand in Bangalore called MTR. I don't know whether it's famous in Delhi and other areas, right? Where you can directly come. cut it and put it in a hot water, it becomes, or or the whole pocket you boil and it becomes a paneer matar or paneer sabji, whatever, paneer tikka masala, right? So what are you doing here? You're not making a sabji, you are just integrating, you are just making a ready-made use of the computer science components, be it a cloud, be it an application. So let me repeat, you're making the roti on your own, completely hands-on. So you're building the entire embedded system, be it an IoT device, IoT gateway on your own. That's the electronic side. The computer science side, you're not building a skill set, but you're just ready-made integrating, because you need it, right? As I said, IoT, you cannot eat, sir, only I'll have roti or only I'll have sabji. It doesn't work, because IoT has to work together, right? So that's one approach which we strongly recommend, because as I said, this approach doesn't work. It's very, very challenging getting expertise in this side and that side, right? So we will say, this is one approach. If you're a computer science engineer, what you can do, okay, the other approach, take the electronic side ready-made. This is again a popular brand. I don't know, it's famous in Delhi. It's an ID where you can just buy, put it in your tawa, the chapati or roti gets ready, right? And this sabji you make on your own. So which means to say what? You learn the entire web programming, your application programming, web services, data science, that you get very much hands-on. This electronic side, you learn how to integrate in a ready-made fashion. Okay, so that you are expert in that side, this side, right? Last one, you can ask, sir, can I make both of them ready-made? Yes, that's also possible. Can I buy a ready-made wheat chapati and can I buy a ready-to-eat sabji, and then can I integrate it? Yes. That is what most of you end up doing in your 2 day or 3 day of IoT workshop, because many times I come across resumes of people who go and attend a 2 day IoT workshop. This is, sir, I know IoT. What you've done, you've taken every ready-made component and you integrate, and then say, I learned IoT. Yes, that's great. Okay, it's similar to the line follow robot workshops, right? I keep in a lighter note, I'll be telling many of you will be attending the line follow robotics workshop 2 day or 3 day you attend. That workshop is happening from pre-independent or Tipu Sultan times onwards we've been doing, right? Now the same line follow robot has taken a new turn and say IoT workshop, where 2 or 1 day you would attend, where you plug and play everything end to end, something you press here, something happens, you think you're taken IoT, right? While that can be a starting point, I'm not discouraging you not to attend that particular workshop or something like that, but do not think only by having a ready-made chapati and ready-made paneer sabji you can buy and heat it, nobody is going to give a job. Okay, you need to be either good in one side or the other side. Having good in both sides is not possible. Okay, hope this analogy helps, right? Whatever I explained so far. So what today's talk, in the subsequent slide I'm going to talk about, is that this talk again, I'm not going to talk on the cloud or the application side. We are going to talk about this, because I understand, you guys are from the from the electronics, robotics side of it. So let us learn. If you go back and see in our analogy, what are we going to do now? I'm going to teach you how to make or how to get good in roti making, and how you can integrate the computer science components in a ready-made fashion. That's going to be the subsequent slides that we are going to talk about. Because the other side is, I don't have an expertise, right? Even though I studied computer science, I started my career in embedded, I remained like that. So my expertise on the electronics and embedded side, right? Okay, but yeah, maybe you can get some other speaker who is from maybe working in the area of application side of IoT. Probably he can give more insights on the cloud and application side. So what we are going to do in the subsequent slide is about further break into this in terms of skill set, and then how you can start building your skill set in that. But remember, let me repeat, it's not possible to have skill set in all the 5 circles. So we are going to focus mainly on 1, 2, that is your roti making, and then 3, 4, and 5 is your ready-made sabji. You're going to integrate and have a nice roti sabji or nice IoT solution. Okay, does it make sense, guys? Are you able to connect so far? Can I get some responses, Tushita?
Yes, so we are able to connect.
Okay, okay. Can I take some questions? I think I'll pause here before I move on.
Sure, so the most reoccurring questions that everybody wants to know the answer to is
Mhm.
what are the prerequisites before we start learning with the IoT?
Okay, I'll talk about the skilling point subsequently. Okay, getting started with, anyway, since it's a question answer session, right? I'll answer with that spirit. Right? Anyways, it comes in a subsequent, right? So, what is the prerequisite to start with IoT? Right, one, from an assuming that you are an electronics and embedded engineers, one, you should be good with one programming language. Often there's a lot of debate. People say, how many programming language should I learn? We say only one programming language you learn very well. And we always recommend you do C programming. Even though Python is easy, you put a dot, every API comes in and then you include a library and makes it work. Don't take the easy route. Get into C programming and learn. So first point is learn one programming language, learn very well. Point number one. The second thing to get started with IoT is to understand the IoT architecture and how these various pieces work. So some of them are covered here. In subsequent slide, I talk about it. Little bit more about how this cloud, how the integration works, and etc. etc. That's the second part that you need to learn. Okay. Third part, assuming that you are going to be in the electronics and embedded side, learn the using C programming. How do I program a hardware? Right, be it a OS non-OS based hardware like a microcontroller based, like hardware, or an OS based hardware, right, be it a Linux based hardware. How do I program? So these three things is more than enough you to get started. Let me repeat: learn one programming language very well, that's C programming. Second one, get the architectural idea about IoT. Third one, using C programming, learn how to program a hardware. Again, hardware is of two types. In typical IoT device, it will be a microcontroller based non-OS based device. Learn how to do that. And in typically in IoT gateway, it will be a more resource intensive hardware or a piece. So that's where having a OS knowledge like Linux also helps. If you know these three things, you're more than and gets hands on and build projects. I'll talk about it in subsequent things. But skills wise, these three skills are good enough. Okay, don't focus on multi things as machine learning, artificial intelligence, web programming, etc. Right? You just know how to integrate. That's enough. I buy you a paneer, matar paneer. You heat it and eat it. That's enough. Okay? You don't need to go in depth, but go in depth in circle number 1 and 2. Does that answer your question, guys? Sushita?
Yes, so we're getting a great response from the
Okay.
audience.
Okay.
Okay, so Sanket Rao is asking, can we term IoT gateway and IoT device as intranet?
Sorry, come back
Also
again.
follow, can we term IoT gateway and
Hmm.
IoT device as
Hmm.
intranet?
You can. You can do that, because see these two devices, right, these they're not connected in toward into the internet, right? If I just only look at, let us say for example, for our discussion's sake, right, can I implement my smart parking system only in my street? Okay, it's not connected to the internet. Whatever the diagram I shown, right, let me go back. Yeah, you can see. Let's say only in this road I want to implement this IoT solution. Can I only put, let us say, 10 parking lots with these 10 IoT devices, and only this one IoT gate which monitor this IoT device? Well and good. But you cannot call it as IoT, because it's just what it becomes a managed solution. That's all. But yeah, if you want to term it as a intranet or a local network, that's fine. Okay. Whatever your question is correct. Your understanding is correct. Go ahead, Tushita.
Okay, so the next question followed is, can you discuss some of the security concerns regarding the data in IoT or the
Okay.
data privacy concerns?
Okay. So, that's a good question. But one of the considerations that we give, but as I said, the security today, when you talk about majorly, the concern comes in when your data is on the cloud, as we just discussed, right? Your IoT device and gateway pretty much remains in the local side of it, but once you go into the cloud is where the entire security aspects comes into the picture, where the cyber security is where the solution comes in, right? Again, I'm no expert to comment on cyber security. I would say, I would request you to explore. As I said, right, I will try to explain what I know best, but area to explore is understand IoT from a cyber security point of view. I would stop at that, Tushita.
Sure, so we'll just take up one last question before moving
Mhm.
to the next section.
Sure.
So the question is, what are the economic impacts of increased application of IoT?
It's huge, right? It's like economic implications are, unimaginable. Okay, because be it your one second. Hey, sorry guys, my office guys, they want to leave. so uh, so economic impact is huge, right? So let me give some perspectives to this, right? One is, it makes things faster, easier, and much more efficient, right? If you talk about this entire parking system, right? Imagine, right, if somebody need to, somebody need to collect. We all know parking lot how it works, right? So okay, so what happens is there is a huge amount of money collection process, and and then it has to be passed. So it makes a huge economic impact in terms of making the entire system more efficient, because the entire thing is automated. Second economic impact, what we can look into it from the aspect of transparency, right? Since the entire chain is connected, there is very less chances that somebody can, for example, parking lot, imagine, right? One somebody cannot put the money into the pocket and walk away. It basically, makes the things transparent. Third thing that I'm seeing the economic impact or the positive aspect of IoT is that it brings people who are not digitally literate. Okay, because as you all know, we guys are rather we people are more familiar with familiar with the technology, so things can be done much more easier, right? But imagine, right, there are a lot of people who are not tech savvy, or where certain things, like for example the medical, right, or the remote patient monitoring, right? Those type of things we can achieve by taking this technology to area where we cannot even think of. And by the way, one other point that will come in the subsequent slide, 5G is going to play a big deal, because what happened in countries like India, we missed the PC revolution, because now PC was expensive, it required so much of wired connectivity to be done and things like that. We jumped that, or rather we missed it, whatever you can call. But in mobile revolution, we are way ahead, if you see, right? So once the 5G comes into picture, it is going to make much more economic impact, be it medical, be it education, right? Be it governance. Subsequently in one of the slides, I'll probably show some 10, 12 domains, be it energy management, right? Entire thing is going to have a very much a positive impact, right? That is what is going to be what I'm seeing a positive economic impact, right? One more use case before I move on. I don't know how many of you, maybe you're all early 20s, your parents may not be that old, right? I have a 75-year-old mother. I don't have my dad. So what happens is, like, we have this concept of life certificate, right? I'm in Bangalore, but I grew up in Tamil Nadu, which is about 350 kilometers from Bangalore. Down south, I need to travel to give this life certificate. It used to be a huge pain where, every year I take my mom, and, she's old, and arrange food and everything, go and give a go and show up live, and then say, I am alive, so that they continue my father's pension, which my mother is getting, right? So if you look at last 4 5 years, I don't know how many of you know, there's something called Jeevan Praman, right? What has happened, Jeevan Praman, I bought a small finger sensing device, which is available in Amazon. You can just connect to your PC, and there's a portal which opens up. All she need to do is just scan her thumb in that particular device, and it connects to the portal, and then automatically the life certificate is given, and then the certificate generated within few seconds. And the next day, it was very surprising when I saw that in my local language, in my mother tongue, right, Tamil, I got a SMS, or sorry, a WhatsApp message next day saying that your local department has received a life certificate, right? And you don't need to take any further action. Imagine, right? It has simplified the entire thing, traveling, staying, going to that government office, and dealing with government office has got its own set of challenges and all, right? Sitting in my home, just by buying that 500 600 rupees fingerprint reader. By the way, it's integrated with Aadhaar. We're able to make it happen, right? It has make our life so simple, so efficient, and absolute transparency. That's, I would say, one of the use cases which touched me in the recent years for faith, because before that, 15 16, right, 2015, we used to go every year, right? It was so painful. Hope all of you able to relate to the use case what I'm talking about, right? In case if you if you have a senior citizens, or if you have grandparents, just try out this Jeevan Praman. You'll just, it works like magic. Within probably less than a minute, we are able to do the life certificate sitting in your own place. You don't need absolutely nothing apart from that. The certificate generated, the acknowledgement message is done, and every month the pension runs in a smooth fashion. Imagine this level of governance if you need to do, without this type of an, it's a very simple use case of IoT, I would say, right? Where the attached device was the IoT device. My computer acts as an IoT gateway. The Wi-Fi in my computer acts as a network, and it clouds connects to the appropriate Jivan Praman cloud, and it reaches the appropriate department. And one of the application was WhatsApp, where I get the acknowledgement back saying that your pension is been your life certificate has been given, and you don't need to take any action. Isn't that inspiring, guys? I want to just get an example, response. You can go on. Right? This use case something which touched me, where it's having a huge economic impact and positive impact on all of us. Tushita.
Yes, so that covered the question very beautifully. I'm sure the audience members were able to connect.
Okay.
So
Shall
this was the last question we had taken up for this section. So we
okay.
can move on to the
All
next
right.
slide.
Great. So let me just move on. So now we'll talk about skills, right? I kind of touched upon in my previous, in the first question, because the question came, how do we get started? So what we suggest in IoT is that go for what you call the T model. So T, as you know, right? There's a horizontal line, there's a vertical line. Know a bit of everything. Okay, know a bit of, say, IoT device, gateway, network, cloud, application. Know a bit of everything, right? But you take this particular area, go in depth. Okay, so again, as I said, roti, sabji, right? Both of you should know. At least you should know when you buy a ready-made sabji, you know how to heat it up and eat, right? That much knowledge is enough. You don't need to know where to get my paneer and make it, right? You don't need to know. But with respect to what we are saying is, since our focus is on the electronic side, you should know how to make the real roti for yourself, right? And then integrate it and make it work. So that's what this diagram talks about. As you can see, this is a T diagram. Yep. So get exposure. Don't stop. Know about your sensor, device, network, cloud applications, everything you should know. You should know about roti side, you should know about the subji side also. But get in depth. You can see the text is written vertically, just to re-emphasize that. Get deep into one side of it. So as I said in the beginning itself, going back to the slide, this top, we are going to focus on the this side, basically the electronic side of it, or circle number one. So how does the skills in the circle number one looks like? I already answered your part, but just to give you a perspective, programming language, right? C programming is what has emphasized, but yeah, optionally you can go for Python. But Python, I would say, nice to have. Okay, often what I'm seeing among engineers, right, they want everything to be easy. Right? And your generation, especially thanks to IoT and many mobile, especially mobile apps, right? So you want everything to happen fast, right? So Python is very easy because you include your library and put a dot, the method comes in and you can call, right? But I would suggest start with C and then go for Python. Don't go for Python and say I'm very happy with it, right? Start with C programming, right? Python, good to know. If you don't know Python, no worries. C programming, if you know, that's what is going to make an impact on your career. Because what happens is today, uh, you know, I have a 8th standard studying daughter. She knows Python programming because Python programming is for kids to learn, kids to experiment, just to, for learning a programming language for a sake of it, right? Okay. Okay, of course, it's very useful. I'm not underestimating the power of Python. But as engineers, we need to get into the nuts and bolt of it. That's where the C programming comes into picture, right? Ensure that you learn well. And as I said, from the IoT device and gateway perspective, learn the microcontroller programming. Take Arduino or any similar hardware. For a gateway programming, pick up any Raspberry Pi or anything, BeagleBone, many such boards are there. Other question I get in my webinars is, sir, which board I should use it? Okay, again, when I wanted to learn embedded, because boards also become democratized. You can just go and search in Amazon, you get so many options are there, right? Again, recently there's one video my team was shooting. I'll just tell an analogy so that you can relate to it when it comes to boards, right? As I said, you need to learn in two boards. One is without OS and with OS, right? Which board should I choose? I said choose any board. Okay. So I say people, I want to relate this board again with analogy. I'm sure you guys will be wondering. I use so many analogies to explain questions. Long time back when I was learning car driving, Now, whenever you wanted to learn car driving, the teacher will tell you ABC: okay? Accelerator, brake, clutch. Right? If you know how to use ABC well, you can learn any car. Okay. So think about it as you need to know the nuts and bolts of how to program a hardware. If you know how to do that, the board doesn't matter. As long as you know how to use accelerator, brake, and clutch, you can drive a Maruti car also, you can drive a Toyota car also, you can drive a Mercedes Benz also. Yes, there could be some variants, but that's no big deal. Okay, so often I'm seeing students, they get so much excited, sir, I know this board, I don't know that board. Or somebody feels very great that I know what the latest model has come, I learned my programming in this board, I'm feeling superior. Or somebody says, so I'm using very old boards, sir. In fact, I would say go back to your pick, that's even better, where you learn the bare metal programming, right? So do not get board centric, but ensure that you learn programming and learn a program, apply that programming in any of these boards. Okay? Pick any board. There are a lot of options are available. That's about the board question. Then, as I said, you have to learn about the IoT architecture and domain, like be it architectural view, what I try to give an overview in this particular session, and how do you set up a workflow. Because when you talk about IoT, like how we are eating roti sabji, it should work end to end, right? Be it a smart parking or any other whatever the use case which I explained about, the live certificate, right? It should work end to end. You cannot say, it reached it till the government of India, but it is not is the corresponding state level department, right? It has to work end to end. So setting up the end to end workflow, and when you talk about IoT, lot of protocols comes in, be it talk about the local ones which we even discussed as a intranet or something like that, and then the entire the TCP/IP related protocol. And when I say this side, you don't need to know in detail how to program a TCP/IP, right? You have some knowledge of it, that's good enough, right? Okay, IoT cloud infrastructure, and the question came on security already. As I said, I'm no expert to answer that. Not only security, you also need to understand about performance. I spoke about latency, as I said in while talking about the architecture, right? Many of these decisions are taken at the IoT gateway level. That's what today we call it as the edge computing, because you don't want to go all the way up to cloud and come for anything and everything. That's reduce the latency part of it, right? Yes, so you need to learn all these aspects also when it comes to IoT, right? Performance and what do you call the security. So this is a skill set point of view, right? Again, one from a career building perspective, what people also says, like, you should be in a position to demonstrate your skill sets, right? Okay, some of them are here: design and program IoT device and gateway, hardware interfacing, optimization, and there are a lot of protocols, which protocol to use, right? And then integrating with the cloud, right? And there are a lot of these integrated development environment tools are available, which you should be able to learn and then demonstrate. And when you come to demonstration, once you learn hands-on, get hands-on and learn these things. And I always emphasize, which is also the focus of our internship, is about build projects. Okay, it's like, for example, if you come and ask me, do I know Japanese? Suppose, and often what happens is among engineering graduates, there's a huge thing about going for certification. Right? I went and took some, IBM gave the certification, or Microsoft gave the certification. Again, I'm not against the certification. Go and take any IoT certification given by any company, right? Or rather, I can say, as an analogy, right? I want to learn Japanese. I go and take a Japanese certification. Yes, it's good, but how do you really validate that I know Japanese? You'll either make me speak a few words of Japanese, or make me write, right? That then only you know, oh, this guy really learned Japanese. Similarly, tomorrow if I wanted to assess you, that how do you know IoT? Only way I can assess you is how many projects you built. Okay. In fact, the internship program, which I'll introduce in subsequent, I think we're about 7 p.m. now, where we start with a project and then go and build a skill set, right? So always start with a project. Ensure that you build good number of projects, because projects are the testimony, not your certification. Not in that certification I got a grade and B grade. That's great. I'm not discouraging it. But don't go on a certification spree. Okay. People, if I see some of the resume, they'll put, I got certification from this portal, this platform, this company, blah 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 blah. Right? It's great. You are coming and telling me I've taken Japanese certification from company A, company B, company C. Great. But can you write a word of Japanese? Can you speak a word of Japanese? That's where the project building comes into picture. So please focus on project building also, because you want to have a career here, right? You don't want to do it just for the sake of it, right? You want to have your career. And believe me, this kind of a technology, it's going to be stay for at least next 20-30 years. Okay. So And gone are the days where when you're focusing on a technology which is shallow in nature. Earlier, there are a lot of manual work happening. Recently, I was in a conference. They're showing some tools, right, which is automated many things, be it a UI path or automation anywhere. These are the couple of things I learned 2 days back. As I said, I come from the embedded side. Does fantastic optimization, sorry, automation, because of which a lot of manual jobs are gone. But things like IoT, when you really learn this core stuff, it's we're all talking about recession and whatever whatnot, right? Those things will not come and throw away. This is going to be stay for next 2 3 decades, where you build a wonderful career. Okay, for that, summary is get hands on, build projects in these whatever the skill sets you mentioned. Hope I am making sense, guys. Skill building, can I get some responses? Are you getting, Tushita?
Yes, sir, we're getting it.
Okay, all right. So, what is the final conclusion of this step, phase one about IoT? Inch wide, mile deep. Okay. Other way to remember is I talked about the T model, right? Take inch wide, only, but go deep. Don't do ulta, right? Okay, a mile wide and inch deep, which is what I see in many of the entry level engineers. And then they ask me, sir, why I'm not? Why no company is selecting me? Right? Take one area, and we already clarified we are focusing on the embedded or the electronic side of it, and go deep. Okay, so that kind of summarizes my first portion on the IoT. In fact, even though it was about giving an overview, we touched upon some of the skill set and how you can build a career out of it, right? So that's about the first portion. So Tushita, can we take maybe few questions if there are any?
Sure, sir. So there's a question
Mm-hmm.
from Sanket Rao.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's asking which field is more lucrative in today's world, fabrication of hardware or computing with embedded systems? Should I
I would.
repeat the question again?
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
So, which is more lucrative in today's world,
Mhm.
fabrication or cloud computing with embedded
Lucrative in terms of money, you're asking, or career growth?
in terms of career growth?
I would say both. Okay. See, if you look at the modern day, especially things about machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc., which is often we hear companies are paying high, and there are a lot of openings, and there is a lot of this trendy things, right? I'm doing something really cool kind of thing, right? There's a cool quotient whenever I say I'm doing something in the machine learning, right? Even though your core electronics, right, not on the fabrication side, fabrication comes in the hardware side, but if you talk about the embedded side, which also offers equally or even sometimes better than these cloud computing opportunities. Today, as I said, right, we deal with core companies. They're all struggling to hire engineers, not quantity. Quantity, as I said, in India, lakhs of things are producing, but the skill part of it. So if you can skill yourself in the embedded side of the IoT, the career opportunities are great. Okay, compared to the application or cloud side, okay, it is equal or sometimes even more. We can say. Okay. Hardware side, I'm not much aware. Okay. Hope this is clear, Sanket.
Yes, so that was a great answer. We got the positive response from Sanket.
Okay.
So one more question that we have is
Mhm.
the application or the implementation of IoT in various fields,
Mhm.
like in the design field or the medical field. Can you touch upon a few brief use cases?
Okay, give me some time. I'll go to the third section and probably, I'll cover some of the use cases. Okay, yeah.
Sure, sir.
All right. Anything else, Tushita? Any other question?
No, so the rest of the questions are regarding the internship
Okay.
opportunity, so we
Anyways,
can
yeah.
take it after.
Yeah. I think what I'll do this section, tech trends in IoT. What I'll do is, even though I presented this section in one of the other conference where the target audience were, more of a working professional, little senior people. What I will say is, like, I will not go deep. Like you see, right, almost an hour we spent on the section one. The section three, that's an internship, is where we need to spend more time on. So I'll keep this session little brief. Okay, I'll run little fast, because if I try to go deep, you may not get it. Some of the points which I'm talking about, but the idea of keeping this particular section is to inspire you guys, saying that IoT has got a long future to go, right? These trends are indicating that it is here to stay. As I said, right, it's not about 3 year, 5 year. Next 20, 30 years is going to stay. Okay. So what are the trends? Okay. Okay. I don't know why this dot is coming. Let me remove the annotation. Okay. So what are the trends, right? First and foremost thing, as I said, don't worry about the text. You may not get it. Okay. As I mentioned about C programming is the thing for IoT engineers to start career, especially from an electronic side. Similarly, JavaScript is also picking up a lot. Okay. Traditionally, we say embedded engineer or especially an embedded IoT engineer should be good in C. But what is happening? JavaScript is picking up quite fast. JavaScript, as you all know, that it started off as a front-end programming language used in browsers, etc. Then it went into back-end in form of Node and Express JavaScript, right? And some subsequently now certain IoT frameworks like Cylon.js, which is more suitable or more easy to program areas like robotics and then physical computing and IoT. So this is one trend, right? So instead of Python, as I said, no compromise on C. Right, that is something which I want all of you to learn very well. One, but compared to Python, if you can pick up JavaScript, okay, also is going to be great. So that's where first trend, which we say JavaScript everywhere. Right? Second thing, if you many of you know, right, almost like I think recently Linux completed 30 years of its being open source. Again, open source is a very broad, very vast topic on its own. So what has happened? Linux has kept its source code open, and many operating systems were derived out of it. So one of the thing is been Android things, right? Similarly, many other companies are deriving operating systems, okay, which are more specific for an IoT use case. That's why you can see that the Things OS, right? Whether it is going to be used either in an IoT device or IoT gateway, right? Or as I said, right, the IoT device typically don't run an OS, are very lightweight, right? Where you want to do certain real-time processing and all, where a choice like Amazon FreeRTOS looks great. So what I'm saying is there is a significant investment as done by almost all these major players. Imagine, right? Amazon is coming and acquiring FreeRTOS. Amazon traditionally been a web company. Why should they come to the electronic side of it? Because they see this is where the potential is going to be, right? So again, this also a trend that the bigger players, investing in operating system, because once you have an operating system as a platform, you can build further things on top of it, right? So that's a second trend. Let me repeat. One was like JavaScript is going to be there everywhere. That phenomena. Second one is almost all the big players are investing in operating system which are specific to internet. That's why it's called Things OS, right? And third one is about the networking protocols, right? Okay. Often it is being perceived that you know the networking is kind of saturated, not much of things are happening there, etc., etc. In order to make this entire connection work, right? Please note networking is a core. So the networking is not going to go out of fashion. Okay? It is only gaining more importance. In fact, by the introduction of 5G, it has even become more big deal because more amount of protocols, more amount of software, which is going to power the entire thing. Even though as I said, I did not talk much in detail about this, but let us not underestimate this. Even though we are all talking about this, right? Let us not underestimate the circle number 3 here, which is the glue. When I say Internet of Things, the internet comes first, right? So the networking, especially the stack, whichever I'm showing there, it is going to be a big deal. So the telecommunication networking field is also, picking up, and every company is investing a lot in due to IoT, which is also going to open up more opportunities for you guys in terms of career, right? Fourth one, there are a lot of these lightweight application development frameworks like Qt are coming in, which is helping you to develop a nice UI. Right, end of the day, as a customer, what you want a very nice, colorful user interface, right? Like where you can do things with ease, right? Things with much more intuitive, right? Nobody need to basically teach you how to use a mobile app, right? We all intuitively learn, right? Intuitively we learn. Similarly, there are frameworks like Qt, which is very lightweight, which can, for example, think about industry use case. People talked about industry use case, right? Let me quickly touch upon something called industry use case, right? Earlier, assuming that I'm a plant, I'm running a manufacturing plant. Let us say I'm manufacturing a pen, right? I'm manufacturing this pen and then cover, and then I'm putting it across and stuff like that, right? So when I'm doing this pen manufacturing, I did not have an idea, because there are a lot of these devices are connected, which is making this entire pen manufacturing, or let us say some biscuit manufacturing happen, right? I do not know end of the day how the production line is behaving, right? Assuming I'm the plant manager, I need to go to the shop floor and check, right? So today, what we call as a industry 4.0 or industrial IoT is one use case where the traditionally people used to call as SCADA. Some of you would have heard this SCADA. SCADA is nothing but the local, right? Where you're managing things locally. It has got some amount of manageability associated with it, but all of them are now digitizing with IoT stack in it. When I say IoT stack in it, they're all getting connected to the internet, so that if I'm a pen manufacturer, I'll know today how many caps got manufactured, how many pens got manufactured. Suppose I'm a biscuit, let us say I'm a Britannia, right? Okay, or let us say Lay's chips, right? So chips, as you know, right, little bit temperature upper niche, the entire chips will go bad, the entire lot will go bad, right? So how many of them has gone bad, right? And let us say how many of them are in a good quality. Okay, and suppose that is there is a plant outage, and what is the reason why this plant outage is happening, and in every machinery that I'm having, which machinery requires maintenance, because in the chain only one machinery stops, right, the entire production line will come to a standstill, right? So I need to get into what you call predictive maintenance, right? When this particular device can go, and that's also these days coming to the electric vehicle, it will tell you, okay, fine, this is high time that say last week I got my car service, right? When you give it for service, that guy says I replaced oil, I replaced clutch, this thing, and hajar things he tells on my phone, which are half of the terminology I don't understand, whether it is really there is a required item to replace or not, I don't know, right? So all those things will get transparent, and end of the day, as a plant manufacturer, I'll get everything in a nice dashboard. That is where technology like Qt coming into picture, right? Which gives you this type of dashboards. You can see that an automotive dashboard, your Ola scooters and all is having a very nice UI, right? So these type of technologies come into picture here, right? Last but not the least, even though I just ran through this particular 4 points little faster. Okay, I always emphasize as entry level engineers and as college grads, focus on foundations. Okay. Yes, it looks very flashy, it looks very trendy when you use the words like IoT or machine learning, etc., etc. Even if you take machine learning, right? I know a lot of close blend people who work on the domain. They all come and tell me, "Hey, man, that guy should be very good in mathematics and one programming language. That's what they need, right?" So the fundamentals will never go out of fashion. Even though you may be driving the latest, what you call Mercedes Benz or any other hi-fi car, it will still, yeah, it may become automatic and things like that. But the fundamentals of car driving will remain the same, right? You may be driving an electric scooter, but the fundamental remain the same. So I request all of you, okay, to yes, it gets very inspiring, very cool when you talk about all these things, but do not lose focus on foundations. Okay, ensure that whatever is mentioned here, be it algorithm design, learning one programming language very well, understanding the hardware, understanding the data sheets, right? Those things, believe me, will never go out of fashion. As I showed in the beginning, right? Tons of core companies hire our trained engineers, right? They all tell me the same thing. I lead the placements area. We end up talking to the companies almost on a daily basis, right? Okay. So do not lose your focus on foundation, because like a building, right? You build foundation, then only subsequently you can make the building stand. Do not lose that. If you know the foundation well, not only in IoT, any future domain also you'll be able to learn. But if that is loose, everything will fall apart. So my request is don't lose your focus on foundations. Okay. So we have another 15 minutes. Let me move on to the third section is about job opportunities, right? So this is what I was talking about, the various industries. I think we talked about the smart city, the smart parking as one solution, and then we spoke about let us say the industry or industry 4.0 is another example where the entire manufacturing line is getting digitized, and then we are able to monitor the plant manufacturing and things like that. We saw that, right? And automotive is another really a big deal. Okay, so often we tend to think that mobile phones or these type of industries are one which is more consumer facing, is getting more popular, but automotive industry, it is all getting more electronics. I don't know, recently there was this news about the semiconductor crisis, due to pandemic. Many of the car manufacturer could not produce because they are not getting so many electronics parts, right? Then you'll be wondering, even today we are in the gasoline or the petrol diesel driven world, right? um, you know why are we why how it is connected to electronics, because today's car itself is having a lots and lots of electronics in it, and it's only as we converge toward the electric vehicle, it's only going to grow more, right? So automotive is one great example, use case about where your traditional petrol and diesel vehicles are getting replaced with electric vehicle. There's a tons of IoT use cases come into picture. Okay, so if you're not watched, I would strongly recommend, from a use case perspective, just go and watch the video given by Ola Electric founder Bhavish Agarwal. Let me quickly see whether I can pull you up for you guys. People are talking about use case, right? Just go to youtube.com, just say Ola Electric scooter Bhavish Agarwal. Sorry, I said Bhavik Agarwal. It's a 20 minutes video. People are talking about the, just a minute. Skip ad. So you can, I think some ads are popping up. Just go and watch this video. He talks about the entire scooter building, how the scooter has been built, right? And you may be wondering, like, is it like only the IoT is coming into picture to make the two wheeler? No, the entire factory, the smart factory which he talks about, it is also completely driven by IoT. It's something like one IoT is making another IoT, right? The entire factory is driven by Ola Electric. So I would just say, just go and search for this Ola Electric scooter, Bhavish Agarwal, a 20 minutes video, a fantastic video which talks about the use case, because there's a question about use case. So please go and look into it and think about the possibilities what this can create for the future. And people talk about Teslas, right? Often people say Elon Musk, and I think he's trying to acquire Twitter, or already acquired, want to fire some people. There's a lot of news coming along, right? So, but if you can look at countries like India, or even for that matter, pretty much the Asian countries, right? They're all still a two-wheeler driven country, right? Where we, as a in India, we got an opportunity to lead, right? Probably, an electric car coming to India is still, it'll take quite a while and a lot of, but the electric scooters are already in. And given the population density, and all of your college grads, right? Like, you're all more fascinated to use a bike than a car, right? So that way, please do watch out for this, a 20 minutes video, a fantastic one to talk about the use cases, right? Okay. All right. So let me quickly jump out of the internship part, because I think another 15 minutes left. Maybe we need to take some question and answer also. So, as I said, again, I can go further into it and talk about job statistics. How many number of jobs are coming up, etc., etc. But believe me, the statistics really, really good. Somebody asked me, right, is it offering enough career opportunities? 1,200 companies are there with us to hire. Core companies are there hiring our students, right, who are going through this program. They all have one common problem, whether it's a startup, mid-size, or a big company. Anytime they meet us, they say, give me good guys, give me skilled people. They're not able to fulfill the existing requirement itself, right? So the demand is much, much, much more than what you guys think of. I'm talking about this core embedded and IoT field, because often what happens, as I said, right, the machine learning and the computer science of the demand is highlighted more, probably because more startups are coming in. Paytms and Flipkarts of the world are much more prominent in Indian market, Swiggy's and Zomatos. But believe me, equally or more opportunities are there here also. Okay, so I can go into, I thought, this itself will take some time, so I did not include statistics. If you want, probably, Yash and team, we can schedule one more session. If you guys want, we can go a little bit more in depth about the career building, jobs, and statistics. We can do that as a second session, right? Since it's quite a long topic we are covering, right? I thought I'll skip that. So rather, we'll get into your view, the internship view, right? You want to get a core job in electronics and IoT industry, because I know I don't validated with your college, but I understand today this is attended by other college students as well, right, Sushita, apart from MSIT?
Yes, sir. The session is open to all.
Right. So, you would just look into your placement profile of your company. I can pretty much guarantee that around 80 or even 90, some students even say 99%, it's all about IT companies, right? But you as a electronics and IoT aspirant, how do I get into my core job? Okay. There are very less opportunity to learn IoT. Even if it is there, it's people think that you integrate, as I said, ready-made roti, ready-made sabji, you integrate and you think you are done IoT. That's not the case. So many internships are there for IT jobs, but not much in the embedded IoT. That's another demand questions we get. I don't enough resources in my country to learn embedded systems IoT, because we even this internship what we are talking about, it is taken by students from 30 countries. Okay, countries like, for example, Sudan, a country like Kenya, where they are, Sri Lanka for that matter, recently, right? They're going through war, and Kazakhstan, right? They all don't have the resources what we have. For example, Sri Lanka is going through a major power shortage, right? Okay, where you cannot get electricity to the level of what even we get in India, right? So how do we do that in such countries? I want to build my skills in core. Okay, I can't afford to pay. Again, this internship is become one big, I would say, diluted situation, similar to your final year project, where the tier one engineering grads, the company hires them as intern, they pay them, right? Other students, either they say, sir, it's become a chicken or egg problem. Company says, if you have skills, we'll pay you. But your question is, where do we get the skills, right? So what majority of you end up doing, AICT says, एक महीने का internship करना है, you go to some place, you pay to the company and say, Baba, certificate दे दो. Right? I know many students, as I said, right? They buy the certificate and जमा कर दो, grade मिल गया, चलो. Right? You're not learning anything. So that's what we wanted to change. That internship, what I'm going to talk about, is absolutely free. Neither you are going to pay anything to us, nor we are going to pay anything to you. One. Second thing, while it is free, in India, what happens? It मुफ्त में मतलब it has got its own implications, right? But we are very particular. By now, I'm sure you would have made out from my presentation itself. We are funny about many things, but we are very serious about many things as a company, right? We want to ensure that the certificate of completion will be given to students who submit their project. Okay, so we will evaluate your project. As I said, this is a completely project-driven internship. By the end of the internship, you need to submit, I'll probably show you what our past interns have built and things like that. So we'll give a certificate only when upon completion. Okay, and I'll tell you, I think last August or something we launched it. It has been a roaring success. We finished, I think, 3 batches of embedded internship. Then was a huge demand for IoT. We finished 1 batch of IoT. The second IoT batch is what is going to close by October 31st, the application. I'll walk you through the dates also, but this is what your view is, right? Okay, how it works, this is what it is. As I said, it's a project driven one. First of all, you will be explained with the project, which is nothing but the SDLC, software development life cycle, how you are going to build a project. Then you will be given appropriate skills, an IoT architecture overview, C programming with Arduino. Again, you don't need to worry about what you call buying a hardware. We are going to teach using simulator. Everything you can do it in online itself, right? And just by online, you will not miss the kickoff hardware. Your learning will be as effective as you are learning from a hardware. But yeah, if you have board on it, you want to try out on it, you can do that as well, but not mandatory. Again, we don't want you guys to push and say, buy this hardware. Again, it will involve some cost and a lot of implication, right? So everything will be simulator driven online, but believe me, you'll get an excellent learning experience, and then you implement a project, right? And this is on the, what you call, the roti making. But we'll also teach the subji, ready-made subji, which is nothing but integrating with the cloud, and how to make an end-to-end solution work. Okay, and then I run some workshops as a part of this, how to write a resume, because okay, sir, I learned in this internship good skills, I even built a project, but many students don't know how to write a resume, right? So that by the time you finish your internship, you have at least one project completed which you built on your own, where at least you return around, let us say, 600 700 lines of source code on your own. Believe me, right? You need to, आपको type करना पड़ेगा. Ready-made वाला copy paste नहीं है, right? You need to build on it. And then we also teach you how to represent in your resume, and then you can go and explore. And by the way, we don't give placement assistance to this. That's only for our full-time paid program. This is a free internship where our idea is to motivate you guys, give you guys the exposure, and don't waste your 1 month, just naam ke vaste get some certificates, right? So that's our motivation. Please understand that. Okay, that's how it works. And what are the benefits? You can your resume will definitely will look good. You can look forward to build a career in core with projects, right? And impressive CV, and then certificates as a proof. And we all run a lot of quizzes. You can just go on, and I'll probably show you some videos, and then you can we'll some give some goodies just to get you guys motivated, right? Our team keep shipping some goodies, whom are the performers, or who are answering well in the quizzes, who are scoring well in those quizzes, right? That's benefit. So this is the URL. Let me just walk you through the link. Probably I'll share it once again through Tushita and Yash. So let me. All you need to do is very simple. Just to go to Emertxe.com. Again, that's a very little complex for you to remember our company name. EMERTXE. That's our URL. Just go there. Uh, so our website will load. It's taking time. Yeah. So again, a lot of things, whatever we spoke about is there. So let me go into where you guys should focus on. Go to college students, and then click on online internship IoT. Anyway, that link is what there in the slide also. I can share you guys the link. So this is the internship page. If you come down, whatever we discussed, it is there. So 31st October is the last day to apply. Okay, we will receive the applications. Already we received a good number of applications, and then we will conduct a written test for you guys. And again, the written test will be based on basic aptitude and whatever you studied in your college, just to ensure that we filter, because we get few tens of thousands of applications. We can't give it to all. We want to filter. It will be an online test. Our team, once you apply, anyways, the application link is form is there. I'll show you. Once you apply, by 5th November, we will complete we'll announce about the written test, and then the test results, whomever cleared the internship, and we'll also give an offer letter about the internship, that you got selected for the internship. Again, if you want to produce it as a proof to your college, go ahead and do it. Okay, and then we start the internship from 14th of November. Okay, we do a kickoff meeting where we need to introduce to, like, how you, because by the way, this internship is going to be a live internship. Every day there will be sessions from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., because we don't want to disturb with your regular college schedule, so that you can come home or come back to your hostel or wherever you're staying. You can attend this from your comfort from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll be giving you the webinar link where you can join. The mentor will come. He or she will explain you and take you through a live sessions. And those live sessions also will get recorded. And we'll give you another access called Learning Management System, called LMS, where the recorded sessions will be uploaded, and all the related materials also will be given to you. You can access them. As I said, all these things are absolutely free. You don't need to worry. Not even a single penny we are going to charge, because the motivation I already explained you is to give you guys the necessary exposure and get you guys get started with it, because we saw a huge gap in this particular thing, right? Again, how it works, I just explain, right, how to start these type of areas, right, whatever we discussed about. And then some of the, what our industry experts are saying, whatever I explain. So these are all some of the videos, what, our some of the testimonials from our students. But if you guys want, you can just go and search in Emertxe Internship. I think it will be there in the down. Yeah, you can see here. Some of the projects built by our students, they're all recorded. You can check them. And even recently the IoT students also put some videos. They're all open. Just search Emertxe Internship, IoT internship. You'll find a lot in YouTube, right? Whatever the interns are telling. Yeah, come back, and then you can see an application form. Very basic details: your name, email ID, phone number, college name, branch, your city, state, semester, year of pass out, country, because we are getting application from international interns also, and then some optional field about the HOD and placement, because sometimes the HODs also want to reach out to us, or the assessment whatever we give is, it has to be integrated with a semester evaluation and all. Feel free to go ahead and do it. Okay, so all the details are here, and the FAQs also given here. This is a page, so please do check out. The application form is there in the link itself. Okay, so let me repeat: the last day to apply is 31st of October, and then subsequently we will work as per this particular calendar. Okay. That's about the internship. And And this is how you can reach out to us. We are in Instagram Emertxe IT, and LinkedIn also Emertxe IT. You can follow us in those channels. We are very active. We keep sharing a lot of information about internship, free webinars, and whatever placed students are getting placed, where and all they're getting placed. The entire information is transparent in our web. In case you are coming to Bangalore, univ_manager at emergey.com. Okay, that goes to our university relationship and internships manager. Her name is Sneha. She will help you. Sneha or Kavya, one of them will help you if you have any college specific, or if you wanted to have similar talks in your college, whatever it could be. We are open. We can help you to set this up for you guys as well. So that's about it, guys. Hope. I think we are dot at 7:30. Hope the three sections whatever we covered from the beginning. One was we covered about the IoT overview, the architectural point of it. Then we went into the career part of it, the skilling, which was naturally the next question. How do we build a skill? Use cases. And we took some analogy of roti sabji, where to build the skills expertise, and which you need to do is ready made. And then finally, all these things we should do something, right? We cannot just अच्छा ठीक है एक डेढ़ घंटे का ज्ञान मिल गया. That's not the idea. I am biasing you guys to take some action, right? That action is nothing but apply for this internship. We hope we will be able to select some of you and then take it forward. And then by the end of that 6 to 8 weeks, sorry, say four weeks is what, and then we give some time to submit project. 6 weeks can count 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and we want all of you to build a real experience of building a project, and then inspire more people to be part of this particular journey. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Tushita, any other questions we can take about internship, or any other questions? I am
So
open.
one question that we are getting is, what are the topics that will be covered in the selection online test? So what all they should prepare for the
As I
online
told,
test
two
for the
things. One is
internship?
your there'll be some mathematics and aptitude based questions, and some basic questions about your electronics, what you probably studied in your second year itself. Okay, basic ones. You want to test that you have the necessary aptitude or not. Prepare on these two areas.
Great. So the rest of the questions and the queries have been resolved
Hmm.
through this information packed session. I'm
Okay.
sure our audience member had a great time.
Okay. Can I get
So
some
I'd like
feedback?
to,
How did they find the session? Were you able to connect? Are you able to better get a better clarity about IoT and your how you can have a career? What our
so we
participants
have a really immense positive response from our audience members. So the live chat is really interactive at the moment,
okay?
and they're all looking forward to join for the internship session. We are also circulating the link for the internship program.
Okay.
So I'm sure you'll see what the immense positive response the session has gotten to the application for the internship.
Okay, sure. I'll tell my team. They will check that. Okay. Anything else, Sushita? Yes.
No, sir. So just wanted to relay thank you from our audience members, as
Mm-hmm.
well as I wanted to thank you on the behalf of our team for taking the time for the session. The
Mm-hmm.
session was really information packed, and we all learned a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope that we would be able to get you and your team on board again in
Sure,
future
sure.
for
Just
such
reach out to
amazing
me. Yeah,
sessions.
we do have as I said, my colleague Maili Mubin, he can bring more perspective. If you guys want me to talk or Mubin to talk, we are open. As I said, we are really committed to motivate, inspire you guys. Right? Feel free to reach out to me. My team is available, and I sincerely hope this session added a good value for all of you. Okay, and I wish all of you a very happy and prosperous Diwali. I think we're all very excited to celebrate after 2 years. So have a great future, and have a great career, and wish you all the best to all of you. Thank you very much, guys. Okay.
Yes, so thank you, sir. Wishing you happy Diwali as well.
Okay. Thank you. I'll log off then. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again for joining.
Sure.